So I said to the American people, here's our narrow mission. We have carried out that narrow mission in exemplary fashion. And throughout this process we consulted with Congress. We've had 10 hearings. On it, we've sent reams of information about what the operations are. I've had all the members of Congress over to talk about it. So a lot of this fuss is politics. And if you look substantively at what we've done, we have done exactly what we said to do, under AU. And mandate, and we have protected thousands of lives in the process. And as a consequence, a guy who was a state sponsor of terrorist operations against the United States of America is pinned down and the noose is tightening around him. Now, when you look at the history of the War Powers Resolution, it came up after the Vietnam War, in which we had 500,000 soldiers there, tens of thousands of lives lost. Hundreds of billions of dollars spent, and Congress said, you know what, we don't want something like that happening again. So if you're going to start getting us into those kinds of commitments, you've got to consult with Congress beforehand. And I think that such consultation is entirely appropriate. But do I think that our actions in any way violate the War Powers Resolution? The answer is no. So I don't even have to get to the constitutional question. There may be a time in which there was a serious question as to whether or not the War Powers Resolution Act was constitutional. I don't have to get to the question. We have engaged in a limited operation to help a lot of people against one of the worst tyrants in the world, somebody who nobody should want to defend, and we should be sending a unified message to. This guy, that he should step down and give his people a fair chance to live their lives without fear. And this suddenly becomes the cause célèbre for some folks in Congress? Come on. So you had, what, a three-parter? What are the other two? Question: there is some question about the constitutionality of the War Powers Act. President Obama, I'm just saying I don't have to reach it. That's a good legal answer. Question: inaudible. President Obama, let me start by saying that this administration, under my direction, has consistently said we cannot discriminate as a country against people on the basis of sexual orientation. And we have done more in the 2.5 years that I've been in here than the previous 43 presidents to uphold that principle. Whether it's ending don't ask, don't tell, making sure that gay and lesbian partners can visit each other in hospitals. Making sure that federal benefits can be provided to same-sex couples. Across the board hate crimes, we have made sure that that is a central principle of this administration. Because I think it's a central principle of America. Now, what we've also done is we've said that DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, is unconstitutional. And so we've said we cannot defend the federal government poking its nose into what states are doing and putting the thumb on the scale against same-sex couples. What I've seen happen over the last several years, and what happened in New York last week I think was a good thing. Because what you saw was the people of New York having a debate, talking through these issues. It was contentious, it was emotional, but, ultimately, they made a decision to recognize civil marriage. And I think that's exactly how things should work. And so I think it is important for us to work through these issues because each community is going to be different and each state is going to be different to work through them. In the meantime, we filed briefs before the Supreme Court that say we think that any discrimination against gays, lesbians, transgenders is subject to heightened scrutiny. And we don't think that DOMA is unconstitutional. Sick. And so I think the combination of what states are doing, what the courts are doing, the actions that we're taking administratively, all are how the process should work. Question: are you at all uncomfortable that there could be different rules in different states? You know, and for somebody to make the argument that's what we saw during segregation. President Obama, Chuck, I think what you're seeing is a profound recognition on the part of the American. People that gays and lesbians and transgender persons are our brothers, our sisters, our children. Our cousins, our friends, our co-workers, and that they've got to be treated like every other American. And I think that principle will win out. It's not going to be perfectly smooth, and it turns out that the president I've discovered since I've been in this office can't dictate precisely how this process moves. but I think we're moving in a direction of greater equality, and I think that's a good thing. Juliana. Question, thank you, Mr. President. I only have a two-parter. President Obama, thanks. Question, are you concerned that the current debate over debt and deficits is preventing you from taking the kind of decisive and more balanced action needed to create jobs in this country? Which is the number one concern for Americans? And also, one of the impediments to job growth that the business community repeatedly cites is the regulatory environment. So do you think that the NLRB complaint against Boeing, that this has created some of the is an example? Of the kinds of regulations that chill job growth, and also that you yourself have called just plain dumb? President Obama, I think it's important to understand that deficit reduction debt reduction should be part of an overall package for job growth over the long term. It's not the only part of it, but it's an important part of it. President Obama, so as I mentioned at the top, I think it's important for us to look at rebuilding our transportation infrastructure in this country. That could put people back to work right now, construction workers back to work right now. And it would get done work that America needs to get done. We used to have the best roads, the best bridges, the best airports. We don't anymore. And that's not good for our long-term competitiveness. So we could put people to work right now and make sure that we're in a good position to win the future, as well. I think. Question, spending and inaudible. President Obama, I'm going to get to it. I think that it's important for us to look at the tax code and figure out. Are there ways that we can simplify it and also build on the work that we've already done, for example? Saying to small businesses or startup businesses, you don't have to pay capital gains when you're in startup mode. Because we want you to get out there and start a business. That's important. Making sure that SBA is helping to get financing to small businesses, that's important. So there are a whole range of things that we can be doing. I think these trade deals will be important because right now South Korea. Frankly, has a better deal when it comes to our trading relationship than we do. Part of the reason I want to pass this trade deal is you see a whole bunch of Korean cars here in the United States and you don't see any American cars in Korea. So let's rebalance that trading relationship. That's why we should get this passed. So there are a range of things that we could be doing right now. Deficit and debt reduction should be seen as part of that overall process. Because I think if businesses feel confident that we've got our act together here in Washington, that not only is the government not going to default but we're also preparing for a future in which the population is getting older and we're going to have more expenses on the Medicare side and Social Security. that businesses will feel more confident about investing here in the United States of America. So I don't think they're contradictory. And as I've said before, certainly in my job, but I think Congress as well, they've got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So we can focus on jobs at the same time as we're focusing on debt and deficit reduction. Now, one of the things that my administration has talked about is there, in fact, a bunch of a tangle of regulations out there that are preventing businesses from growing and expanding as quickly as they should. Keep in mind that the business community is always complaining about regulations. When unemployment is at 3% and they're making record profits, they're going to still complain about regulations because frankly, they want to be able to do whatever they think is going to maximize their profits. I've got an obligation to make sure that we're upholding smart regulations. That protect our air and protect our water and protect our food. If you're flying on a plane, you want to make sure that there are some regulations in place to assure safety in air travel, right? So there are some core regulations that we've got to maintain. But what I have done, and this is unprecedented, by the way. No administration has done this before, is I've said to each agency, don't just look at current regulations or don't just look at future regulations. Regulations that we're proposing. Let's go backwards and look at regulations that are already on the books, and if they don't make sense, let's get rid of them. And we are in the process of doing that, and we've already identified changes that could potentially save billions of dollars for companies over the next several years.